Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking over. I mean, all days keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. Let's talk about I just want to take a step back. I feel like we've been getting very specific lately with our videos. I feel like it's always been about a person or about the game. I feel like we should take a step back and look at the season, right? So obviously we're one episode away from the finale after Wednesday. We'll be officially in finale week. And so we're starting to get towards the end of the season. So I do want to talk about how this season can end up in a better spot than it is right now, based on really mainly the finale, but really like these last two episodes. And so I just want to go through how a season can help itself during the finale mainly, but also like in the last episode, and then also like how a winner can really affect the season, and then I'll apply that to this season and talk about what I feel like this finale has to have and what this season's winner needs to be, or really who it needs to be. We have their post-game show tomorrow. We got to 60 live viewers on the last one, concurrent. So let's try and get to 70. You guys are killing it with that, so let's just keep growing here. Before we start, 72% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. And if that's it, let's get right into the video. Let's do it. Let's talk about this whole season as a whole. Let's just take a step back and look at why this season is very subpar to me. So far, I have this season at 22 out of 40 seasons right now. I think it's ahead of seasons like, obviously your like terrible seasons like Thailand, Redemption Island, Worlds Apart. There it is. For me, and I think it also beats out like your subpar to bad seasons like Edge of Extinction or Ghost Island or to 26, Caramon, or like Blood versus Water. Like honestly, I feel like Blood versus Water, it's better than Blood versus Water, but I feel like that's where you draw the line there. I think Blood versus Water is like at 23, and I think this season is just slightly better than that season. And I think overall this season has a lot of flaws, like a few positives, and a lot of like decent, but not insanely great. So while we're on the topic of where the season is ranked, with me having it at 22 out of 40, let's just talk about why. So my first reason is it's semi-fluid gameplay, right? So it feels like there's a blind side every single episode, right? Like every single episode I've been like, what? Whereas in like there's a lot of seasons, specifically in the 20s and in the teens, where I generally felt like we really just knew like almost every single time who was going to go home. I feel like in the first 10 they did a good enough job casting that it really didn't matter if the boots were obvious, because the casts were so good. I think in the teens and 20s sometimes we would have a season where every single vote was like, oh yep, makes sense. I feel like with this season really, and this kind of leads into my next bullet, which is about the shocking and unpredictable editing. I feel like we've been blindsided as a viewer every single episode and every single vote. I think the issue with this season is that aside from like the Nasir vote probably, and then maybe like the Shan vote, I feel like every single other time the person who's gone home has had at least an idea, right? Nasir completely blindsided, right? Shan completely blindsided. I think aside from that, right? So let's just go through the entire cast, right? Let's just go from the merge on, right? So we have Sydney. She knew she was in trouble. She literally used her shot in the dark. It's very, very obvious that she knew she was on the hot seat there. Then the next vote is Tiffany. Obviously, Tiffany's on the bottom there, so she knows as well. Then after that we have the Nasir vote, but then in that same episode we get Evie going home, very obvious boot, and then after that I believe it's the Shan boot finally, and then again after that we get the Liana boot, and so it's like Liana knew she was going home there. And so I don't know, every single episode for me, I feel like although the viewers have been blindsided almost every single episode, the players have not been blindsided like very often. I feel like the plans have kind of gone like as planned, and I feel like that's not as fun. I like when both we're blindsided and like half the players are blindsided, because I feel like that's more exciting. I feel like seasons like Kagian and David vs Goliath, where every single tribal, half of the people at tribal leave like mad and angry, and half leave like, yes, awesome. Like that's more fun to me than seasons where like 8 people leave tribal saying yes, awesome, and like 2 of them leave angry. Like that's not as fun to me personally. I will say they have had decent to good challenges. I think they've tried some new ones, none of which I can remember, and that really shows you like it really doesn't matter. Like unless your challenges are like that good to the point where it starts to affect, viewers. I feel like challenges are just becoming very forgettable, and they're reusing a lot, but they're also trying some new ones. So I'll give them some credit. I think there's been some notable moments from challenges, but the fact that I'm kind of like speaking in this like it's hard to really like say, oh, okay, like these like challenges are amazing, period, end of story. I feel like that's not something that you can say about this season when the only moments from challenges that I can remember, let me see. So Xander looking for the idol, which he didn't even find. I think Evie solving the puzzle fast. Deshawn and Xander's duel, where Liana calls Xander's face stupid. I feel like these are all moments from challenges, but it really wasn't the challenge itself. Like JD saying baller or Kobe or whatever it is. I feel like those are all moments where the cast made the challenge fun. Whereas in most, and then also we have the challenge throw fail from Nasir and Danny and Deshawn. That's also fun, but again, it's the players making these challenge sequences fun, not the actual challenge itself or the producers. And I feel like that's the issue here, is like the challenges are decently good, and the only reason that they lean good is because of the players in the game and what they're talking about and the circumstances surrounding these challenges. I will say a big positive for this season is a great cast. There's not really much to say. I've said it 1,000 times. This cast is great. As much as the wokeness can get annoying, which we'll talk about in a second, I feel like this cast is awesome. My next one, though, really negates this positive, and that's a very disappointing boot order, right? So in my opinion, in a season, casting can be awesome, but if your boot order is annoying, I feel like you have a serious problem. I think a season like Game Changers really was affected by this, right? Because in Game Changers, as much as everybody ranks on this cast, right? The first like 8 or 9 boots are great casting, right? It's just that the last like 9 boots are not, and even then, like in the post merge boots, you have Ozzy, you have Sari, you have Brad Culpepper, you have Sarah. Those are 4 great casts, right? I feel like those are fine. I feel like the rest of the people, like your Haley's, your Sierras, your Michaela's, I think Zeke is a decent cast. So there you go. It's really only like 4 or 5 people who are just genuinely bad casts for Game Changers. The issue is that those 4 or 5 people all made it to like the final 8. That's your big issue. Or I guess the merge, because Haley's was the merge boot. But so there you go. Your 5 worst cast members made it to the merge. That's your big issue. I feel like in a season as good as casting can be, you're always going to have like that lower level of casting. That's like the people who are just not as interesting. And if those people get to the merge and take up the spots for your JTs from Game Changers, your Sandras, your Tonys, your Sierra from Blood versus Water, your Malcolms, right? Those people who go out pre-merge, then Haley's and Sierra's and Michaela's take up their spots post-merge, and that's really the issue. So I think a season like 41, where you have people like JD and Brad and Voce, right? And on top of that, you have characters like Sarah, who is going to have like a really like nice story, right? You have people like this, like people like these who are going pre-merge, and really specifically the 2 that are really hit this season hard are really, for me, JD and Brad. I think if those 2 people make it to the post-merge, your season is so much better. But because of that, I think this season significantly drops. I think with JD and Brad at the merge and just letting them play it out from there, I think the season automatically goes up 5 to 10 spots, and that's a huge jump. But because the boot order is kind of disappointing in that way, we do get a worse season, in my personal opinion. I won't spend much time on these last 2 because I've kind of made a lot of videos on them, but the last 2 are bad production twists and woke stuff. I mean, bad production twists examples can be the merge twist with the hourglass, the Deshaun you're about to go home unless you switch boxes or don't switch. Terrible, right? It's just these bad twists that I just don't like. I think Jeff breaking the fourth wall has gotten pretty cringy. It's things like these that it just shows that production just is not in touch with its audience, both casual, neither super fan. And then the woke stuff, there's 1,000 examples. You have Ricard with all of the guys' nonsense. You have Shan and Liana existing. No, I'm just kidding. But like Shan and Liana saying as a black woman every other 5 seconds. You have a literal 15-minute segment at Tribal devoted to like what seemed like the news. Like it felt like watching the news. That's sad that I'm watching Survivor and it feels like I'm watching a news channel. That's not okay. I don't care what anybody says about how we'll get over it because these are important. No, I'm not watching the news. I'm watching Survivor. Period. End of story, in my personal opinion. But as we've seen, right, a season can go up so much. I mean, I think as much as 5 spots based on a good finale, right, and what goes on in a finale. I feel like a season can go up 5 or drop 5. I think examples of this are Borneo, right? Borneo has a great finale. I think Borneo's finale is probably a top 5 episode of the entire series. And that's saying something because it happened in season 1 when the strategy was terrible. Because even then, with terrible strategy, we still had a fantastic finale. And I feel like without that fantastic finale, I think that season drops 5, if not even like north of 5 spots. I think it could drop 8 or 9 spots if that finale is not as good as it is. I feel like a finale is different than really any other episode. I mean, a premiere can flop, but the season will go on. If a finale flops, that's all you have left to kind of marinate on, and I feel like that's a serious issue if your finale is not good. And more importantly, I feel like a season can definitely go up as much as even 10 spots or north of 10 spots based off who wins the season. I feel like if your winner is just perfect for the season, it completes the story, right? Or your winner is like among a bunch of goats, and so if that winner doesn't win, then this season is, you're super disappointed. I feel like that's also something that's very good for your season. And so having a satisfying winner is super important when it comes to your overall season arc, for sure. And I think 2 amazing examples of this are in Cook Islands with Yule, right? Because with Yule, imagine if Sandra or Becky wins that season. And now I feel like if Ozzy wins, it's still kind of disappointing, as we know that Yule is like the brains of the operation. But at least if Ozzy wins, it feels somewhat like the I-24 is well represented. But I feel like if Sandra or Becky were to win there, because the jury was bitter, imagine Cook Islands, where all of that story happens just for Becky and Sandra to win the game. That the season would drop from where it is right now, and my rankings probably at like a 26 or 7 down to like a 37 if Becky is our winner or if Sandra is our winner. You know what I mean? Like winners can really make or break a season, specifically like seasons where the arc is very, very well tailored for 1 or 2 persons to win. And if they don't win, then the season feels not very satisfying. Another really good example of this is in Token Chains with JT, right? So if Steven or JT hadn't won that season, and instead we get like an Aaron, right, who wins this season there, I feel like that's not good. I feel like if we get to the end, right, and let's say Steven wins immunity, flips on JT at the final 3, and then takes Aaron to the end instead of JT and votes out JT, and then the jury votes for Aaron, that season would immediately go from a top 10 to like maybe a top 20, and even then that's kind of pushing it. Sometimes the story needs to be wrapped up in a very nice, pretty red bow, and sometimes that involves having a specific winner, or at least a specific cohort of people in the game to win the game. So I just want to go through some things that I feel like need to happen for this season to have like a quote unquote good finale that like moves the season up, 3 to 5 spots, I'd say. And the first one for me is definitely that 2 of the big 3 need to go to Final Tribal. Now, I refer to Ricard, Deshaun, and Xander as the big 3 right now. I feel like those are our big 3 threats who at some point or another were favorites to win, and I think they've all kind of come together to be favorites in some way, shape, or form. I know it's now like been like the popular thing to say, oh, Xander has no shot of winning. Although as much as his stock may be dropping with the jury, I feel like Xander's story is just too good to be like, no, he's a GOAT now. Like, I feel like Xander is at least in the conversation. Obviously, I think we can all agree that Ricard is like really set up to win, but he needs to make some like maybe one extra more move. And then I think Deshaun has been the favorite since Shan went out really to win the game, and I think really since like the early merge, I think Deshaun's been in complete control, and on top of that, he is the race that most of the people on, or at least a few people on the jury, like to vote for. So that kind of works out in his favor. And so I feel like if two of the big three are not sitting at tribal, and instead it's like a Deshaun, and then you have two goats like a Deshaun, and then like Erica and Heather tribal, I feel like that's not very fun. I think if you have like a Xander and like Heather and Danny tribal, where Xander just steamrolls everybody else there, I feel like that's not very fun. You want two out of the three, Ricard, Deshaun, or so Xander, you want two of those guys going up against each other, or else the final tribal is going to feel like more of a blowout, which isn't very fun or competitive to watch. I think something that could move this season down based on the finale is if somebody wins based on their genders or race. I feel like that is immediate, like an immediate turn off for me. If somebody wins this season because they're a certain color, that's not good for me. That's not something that I like to see. That's not something that I want to happen. I think this is very separate from politics. This is just me saying, hey, if we're going to start picking our winners based off the color of their skin, that's where we draw the line between, okay, this is just something I don't like, and then this is breaking the game. This is making the game straight up not bad, not good, just straight up unacceptable to pick a winner based off of the color of their skin. So I feel like that's also kind of like a deal breaker with this finale. Is if that happens, I feel like this finale probably drops several rankings on my end. No crazy big twist. I feel like if there's some big twists like the Deshaun twist, or like the hourglass twist, especially if it goes wrong, like sometimes they get lucky, but if the twist goes wrong, I feel like that could bring this finale down like a lot, actually. And for me, like the last thing for me as far as the finale as a whole is fluid gameplay. I feel like if we just get right now, as far as we know, it's Deshaun and Danny on the bottom. So if we just get like a Danny and then like Deshaun wins immunity, so then we just get like a Ricard blindside, that's not fun. Like, I want chaotic gameplay. I want at least one more idle play, probably from Xander, and I'd like to see Xander play his idle correctly or incorrectly for that matter. I just want to see like an idle play and just some fireworks at tribal. Like I feel like Tribal's been pretty boring and not really the highlight of the episode, the past few episodes, I would say. And so I would like to see a tribal where I'm like, what? Oh my God. Because we really haven't gotten one since the merge tribal. And so I will say that we do need some fluid gameplay. Who needs to win? Very simple answer. One of the big three. Again, I feel like this big three is what's going to make or break this final episode. I feel like if one of the big three wins, and if it's like a Deshaun versus Ricard, or Ricard versus Xander, or Xander versus Deshaun final tribal, I think you are in for a treat. I think if it's one of those people and the other two get voted out or lose in fire before they can get there, I think you have a very boring final tribal. And so that's just my personal opinion. I feel like you need a competitive final tribal, and you need one of the big three to win this season in the end. If an Erica, Heather, or Danny wins the season, I feel like it's a pretty big disappointment. That's it, guys. Again, watch the post-game show tomorrow, right after the episode ends. We go live like within 30 seconds of the episode ending, so stay tuned for that. We're almost rivaling some other live shows. I'm not going to name any names, but yeah. So, it's crazy, guys. You guys are just blowing up these videos where we're now maintaining at least 2,000 views per video, which is pretty sick. Again, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy speaking into a weird microphone. That's it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace. Oh, one more thing. If you want to watch my podcast, meaning either my live shows or my Power Rankings podcasts. If you want to hear that in podcast form, maybe you want to walk to school, but you can't have your phone like unlocked, or if you want to have your phone locked while you listen to our podcasts, check me out on Spotify. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts. We're on all of the platforms. Thanks to all the internet stuff that I really don't understand. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you. Peace.